Welcome, everybody. I'm Wayne Kessler. I am a business and marketing coach for clinicians and other people that want to grow their business. We're here today with Andi Freedman, and she's going to talk about an exciting program that she has created called Mind Over Food. And I had met Andi at a cognitive behavioral therapy study group, which was facilitated by Daniel Beck, who's the son of Aaron Beck, the creator of cognitive behavioral therapy. And so Andi presented at one of our meetings, and I found the program so exciting, and so it seemed like it could be very effective, because we all know that cognitive behavioral therapy could be used to help with a lot of different types of behaviors that are not necessarily what we want. And you know, if your diet is such that you feel like you're not just adhering to it, then clearly the mind has something to do with that. So, Andi, will let you sort of take it away and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Andi Freedman. I'm the founder of Mind Over Food. Wayne explained a little bit about what I do just now, but this is really exciting. I'm really excited to present this to you, and how a cognitive behavioral approach to weight loss and wellness can help you or people that you know that have been struggling maybe for a long time with their weight or their health issues. My thing didn't advance. Okay, so I just want to tell you a little bit about me. I started out as a biologist. I have a degree from University of Miami in biology, and I also was a science teacher. And then some point in my life, I made a switch, and I went back to school and got my MSW. And then sometimes later, I got my license. Here in Massachusetts, an LICSW is the highest level of clinical licensure. And then after practicing for a while, I got interested in cognitive behavioral therapy. So I went to BU and I got my certificate in cognitive behavioral therapy. And I'm also now a diplomat at the Academy of Cognitive Therapy. And fitness, nutrition have always been sort of a passion of mine. And when I realized that I could combine my passion for wellness, health, and my cognitive behavioral therapy skills, that was when I got into doing this treatment, and I developed Mind Over Food. So before I get into the program, I just want to start out by saying either you or people that you know may have struggled for a long time with your health and your weight, and you may have tried many times to diet, and if you've had disappointing results, or the results have only been temporary. And I want you to know right off the bat, it's not your fault. Why? Because you never were taught how to eat. And with all the stigma and shame, we just want to put an end to that, move forward with a totally unique approach. So what is a cognitive behavioral approach to weight loss and wellness? Well, the first thing is it changes the way you think about food, eating, and diet. And you're going to hear this throughout my whole presentation, that it's all about your thoughts. It's the thoughts that count. And cognitive behavioral treatment, the main onus of CBT is changing the way you think. And we apply that to diet, exercise, and eating. Once again, it's about how you're eating, not what you're eating. There's just copious amounts of information out there about what to eat. And it's really not about that. It's about how you approach it. This is not a diet. Diets don't work. I'm sure you've heard that many times, and it's really, really true. However you want to approach your own particular diet and your own health, we need to change your thinking first before you can be successful with what you're eating. And this program is based on the Beck Diet Solution. Okay, so I have to kind of introduce you to CBT a little bit before I can tell you how Mind Over Food works. And some of you may already be familiar with CBT, And for those of you who don't know, I'm just saying CBT, which means cognitive behavioral therapy, but I want to give you a little tiny overview of the model. And the CBT model states that you have a situation and there's a thought. It's an automatic thought that pops into your head in that situation. We kind of think that we go from situation to feeling, and we really don't. There's a thought there before we start to feel. So that thought leads to having some feelings, some emotions, which then informs our behavior. So I want to present this to you, but with a food and eating example. So here's a situation. Somebody hands you a big piece of chocolate cake at a party. I know this has happened to me. I'm sure this has happened to you, or there's just this delicious cake at a party. But you went into the situation thinking, oh, I'm not going to eat any dessert, or I'm not going to have the cake. But then these thoughts start to come into your mind. Oh, I know I shouldn't eat it, but oh, it looks so good and I really want it. Or how about this one? Have you ever thought this one? One piece of cake won't kill me. I'll start my diet tomorrow or Monday or next week. So then that might lead to some frustration, some disappointment, maybe even embarrassment, because you don't want people to notice that you're having this struggle around eating the cake. And then what's going to happen? You're just going to go ahead and eat the cake. But what if your automatic thinking were different in this situation? So we have the same situation, but the thinking is different. The cake looks good, but it's not on my plan for today. Here's a big one. My weight loss goals are more important than the temporary pleasure of eating the cake. And it really is temporary. So if you thought that automatically instead of the other thoughts, maybe you'd feel okay. There wouldn't be a lot of emotional tension and stress. And then you could say no to the cake and really remember why you were at the party in the first place, which is to spend time with family and friends and enjoy yourself and not worry about food the whole time that you're there. So I want to open this up to the participants. Does anyone want to share when the last time that they ate something that then afterwards they felt bad, or they were beating themselves up a little bit about it and they were like, oh God, I shouldn't have eaten that? Do we have any volunteers out there? So Shanquinta, last time you ate something was a bag of chips 2 days ago. So tell me, can you think of what went through your mind right before you went for that bag of chips? Can you set up the situation for me? I was in a rush and I had skipped lunch and there were so many demands on my time, so I bought the chips. Okay, so you have a couple of sabotaging thoughts going on here, right? You were in a rush, so you were worried that you were going to be hungry later, or you were hungry at the time, and that you felt like you wouldn't have time, so you just grabbed a bag of chips and ate it on the run, right? So the first thing I would say to you is, what could you have said to yourself in that moment that would either have said to yourself, maybe chips isn't the best idea, or I don't really want to, I might feel bad after I'm eating the chips. Would that work for you?
It's a great suggestion.
Yes. Then I also would probably want to suggest, did you really not have time to eat something healthy? Or would it be really, really bad if you were a little bit hungry at the end of the day when you could have made a better choice? Oh, and Jerry, I love your question too. Jerry says the neighbor had just baked a peach pie and offered, and not wanting to refuse, ate it. And you were sorry about that afterwards. And say you were worried about hurting feelings, and you were disgusted with yourself afterwards because it was ruining your goal for the last 2 days of dieting. So I'm going to explain. So these are some really, really good, not good, but really, really common sabotaging thoughts. And I'm going to show you some useful techniques. Okay?
All right.
All right. So we're going to move on. Okay. Oh, for some reason that's not, okay. So what are the skills you need to know? So this was really great. I got some really great, what we call sabotaging thoughts. We had oh, the sabotaging thought of, I'll be rude if I refuse this food. We have the sabotaging thought is, I just don't have time. I'm in a rush and I'm going to be too hungry later. So now you can start to see, I don't know if out there, you can start to see that there's these thoughts in there that are the thing that's sabotaging your goal and not the food itself. So what will you learn from Mind Over Food? So first you will learn some essential skills, right? The cognitive behavioral strategies that change thinking around food and eating. And we talked a little bit about the cognitive strategies, which is putting new thoughts in its place. And the way I do that is through what I call the Mind Over Food 4 pillars of lifelong wellness. And I'm going to explain each one of those to you in kind. So it's not about the food. It's really not about the bag of chips. It's really not about the peach pie. It's about your thinking that made you choose those things. And then in addition, somebody said they were disgusted because it ruined their goal from the last 2 days of dieting. And we're going to stop being disgusted right now. We're going to be kind to ourselves and stop beating ourselves up. You made a mistake. It's okay. I'm going to teach you how to move on from a mistake, because that disgusted feeling can lead to more overeating. So come on with me down this path. So here's my 4 pillars of lifelong wellness. And you'll notice that thoughts are front and center. Well, remember I said that all this is about thoughts, and it's about using CBT to change your thinking in these really difficult situations. I don't want to downplay these situations at all. They're really, really hard. The other things that I'm going to teach you or show you today really support this change in thinking. Some of those techniques are cognitive techniques, and some of them are behavioral, and they work together to really help you change your thinking. So this new, balanced, healthy way of thinking is the way you're going to think the rest of your life around difficult food. So the 4 pillars are thoughts, mindful eating, planning, and tracking. So let's look at your thoughts. Now, this is a little comic from The Oatmeal. If some of you know The Oatmeal, if not, check him out. He's awesome. He has this little character called the Blurch, and you can think of the Blurch as this little thing flying around behind you, sabotaging your goals. You know, oh, you're in a rush. Just grab a bag of potato chips. You know, there's just have a snack. One of my favorites here is you've earned it. Have you ever done this? Because I know I've done this, where I've said, oh, I was so good this week. I deserve this. I really earned this piece of cake. Or I had a really hard day, so I've earned this extra slice of pizza. Or, you know, put in your favorite food. I think we're figuring out what my favorite foods are. Okay, sometimes it's a conversation though. So sometimes it's not just this one thought that pops into your head, but sometimes, like at the party, you might go, oh, I really want the cake. Oh, but I shouldn't eat the cake. And you go back and forth and you're working. And what happens is your justification, or the sabotaging thought, we call it the thought that sabotages your goals, the sabotaging thought, which here is represented by the little devil on the shoulder. And once you go back and forth, that voice gets louder. And we don't want to have that back and forth conversation. Also, when you have this back and forth conversation, it builds tension up and your emotions get really, really high. They run high. And how you want to soothe that? So what do? You eat the offending food to soothe it. So once again, these thoughts are called sabotaging thoughts. So how Mind Over Food works, you know, this is very simplistic, but basically how it works is we figure out what your particular sabotaging thoughts are in different difficult situations for you. Okay. And then I teach you how to respond to those thoughts in such a way that eventually those thoughts become your new automatic thoughts and you can make healthy choices. So just to reiterate that that these sabotaging thoughts can be unique to you, and Mind Over Food is not like a cookie cutter thing. We work to find your particular sabotaging thoughts and how to respond in a way that will work for you. Okay. So here's the other piece, going back to Jerry, who talked about feeling disgusted. We're not going to do that anymore. I'm going to teach you how to celebrate your successes. Guess what? You make healthy choices every day. So right now you can think of even probably today or yesterday that you made healthy choices. So you know you can do it. And I want for you to celebrate that in a way that's stronger than how you're beating yourself up right now when you make an eating mistake. And so we kind of tend to think that when we eat right, then that's normal. And then when we don't, that is bad or we're a failure. No, I want you to flip that on its head. I want you to tell yourself that, yeah, you made a mistake. That's kind of normal to make a mistake because we're human and that's normal. But when we do make a good choice, yay me. I know it sounds a little Pollyannish, but it really does work. So pillar number 2 is the mindful eating. And we kind of think of mindfulness as something that's, like yoga or meditation. And those things are great for becoming more mindful, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just simply being aware of what you put in your mouth. I mean, you probably don't even realize how often that you're mindlessly putting food in your mouth. You're not tasting it and you're not enjoying it. And if we're going to eat, we really want to enjoy it. We want to get that satisfaction out of our food. So why are we eating in such a way? If we're eating in our car, if we're eating a bag of chips in our car, we're not even tasting those chips. We're not even enjoying it. So if we're going to eat a bag of chips, we really want to enjoy it. Some of the ways that we distract ourselves is eating in the car, eating in front of the TV. Here's a huge one. Eating while we're working. When you eat while you're working, you're not enjoying your food. You're not getting the satisfaction out of your food. And you're probably not being that efficient at your work as well. And really, eating doesn't take that long. And if you really think about it, you probably can carve out 5 to 15 minutes to sit at a table and eat, and then go back to your work, enjoying your food more and being more efficient at work. And the only kind of distraction I want you to have is I want you to eat with your family, your friends, when you're eating at a restaurant. That's okay. I want you to, it's really important that we share food together. It's culturally important and it's nice. Okay, pillar number 3, planning. Why planning? Why is planning so important? Well, a lot of my clients tell me that they don't like the fact that when they're dieting, they have to spend so much time thinking about the food that they're going to eat. It almost becomes an obsession. And if you plan, if you spend just a little time planning, it's such a relief. This is a big, huge aha moment for a lot of my clients, that they feel like planning is a lot of work, but then when they do it or they try it, it becomes a relief for them because they're not thinking about food all the time because it's already planned. And it actually frees up time because they don't have to worry about, well, what am I making for dinner tonight? And here's the best news you're going to hear about Mind Over Food. There's no taboo foods. I want you to eat your favorite foods. We just have to figure out a way to get them into your diet in a responsible way. So if you love chocolate chip cookies and, chocolate chip cookies are not part of your healthy diet, we have to figure out a way how to get them into your healthy diet so that you don't feel deprived, because deprivation is a killer of a healthy diet. And the 4th essential skill is tracking. We really need to keep track of what we're putting into our mouths. And the biggest reason is that we're just not that good, and I'm guilty of this too. We're just not that good at judging our food intake. Study after study has shown that people consistently underestimate how much, what the energy content of the food is and how much we're actually eating. So the tracking, it's so easy to do these days because there's so many apps that help with this. So you can just plug it into your, your phone or your computer, just to keep track. So this is a really important skill. Both the planning and tracking are really, really good predictors. Have been shown that that these are really, really good predictors of if you're going to maintain your new healthy lifestyle for a long period of time, over a long period of time. Okay, so those are the 4 pillars of lifelong wellness. And if you master these 4 skills, you can be assured that you will maintain your new healthy lifestyle. You can get to your goals and you can maintain them really for your whole entire life. It's a total paradigm shift. But I do have some more skills that I do teach clients that really help support this, and they're very more specific to difficult issues that are pretty much consistent over all people who've struggled with their weight and their health. I call that the boost because it boosts the 4 pillars. So for example, emotional eating. Who doesn't do this? Almost everyone does this. I even use this as an example because, I've had a hard day, so it's okay that I eat this food. So we work on that. That's a huge one for people. How to tell the difference between hunger, craving, and desire. Hunger, right? We had somebody talking about not worried that they were going to get hungry and not have enough time to eat later. They were worried that later they were going to get hungry. I'm going to help you learn how to tolerate that. Also tolerating cravings and shifting your mindset about cravings. Everything that I teach you in the boost has mindset techniques, which are cognitive, and behavioral techniques. There's the CB and CBT. Here's a big one that helps a lot of people. Learn how to stay in control in triggering situations. So, for example, the holidays are coming up, and I'm actually having a special Healthy Holidays workshop. That's a 1-day, 2-hour workshop because the average American tends to gain 1 to 5 pounds over just the 6 to 8 weeks over the holidays. And I have some great tips and cognitive and behavioral techniques that will really help you stay in control over the holidays. And then ultimately, how to make that paradigm shift to change your thinking forever. So what is the Mind Over Food program and what do I offer? So I offer, of course, an essentials workshop. It's a 6-week workshop that runs for an hour and a half each week. You can do it with me online, or if you're in the greater Boston area, I have different workshops going on all around greater Boston. Then after you graduate from the essentials workshop, then we do the boost workshop, same kind of thing. And then, as I mentioned before, my Healthy Holidays workshop, which is going to be online starting in November and going through the Christmas season. If you can't do one of my workshops or you rather have more individual attention, I do coaching. I do individual coaching. So feel free to reach out to me. We can either do it this way, which is really cool. This is really cool for me to do this, or in my office if you live locally. And then for people who are seeing me individually or have at least graduated from the Essentials workshop, I have a once a month online support group that meets to just talk about like, I'm struggling with this issue, or maybe you're checking in with other people who've been through the program. Please, please, please feel free to reach out to me online. Go to my website, check out my workshops, when they are, where they are. But do not hesitate to email me directly. Leave me a message on Facebook. Give me a call. I want to hear from you. I'm so happy to help. I want to hear about your individual struggles. This program is really transformed so many lives, and it's really much more of a long-term focus rather than just lose 5 pounds or get me into that dress. So if you're ready to make this change and change your thinking about food and eating, then give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. So
Okay.
I want to leave it up to questions from you. I just can't wait.
If you could let people know where your office is, because it's not clear from the
Sure.
slide.
Oh yeah, you can go to my website and check that out. But I'm in Beverly, Massachusetts,
Okay.
and if you're familiar with the area, I'm in the Cumming Center, right in the 100 building. It's a nice building. I have a really nice sunny office there, and so you can visit me there. Also, if you live in the Greater Boston area but you can't get up to Beverly, I will come to you if you either want to do individual coaching, or if you have a group of friends that you'd like to get together and do a workshop, I will come to you, really anywhere. So feel free to reach out to me about that.
Okay, well, why don't
So
we
do you have
open
any
it up for questions? Again, you could use the chat feature or the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. So what questions do you folks
I'd
have?
love to talk to some people, yeah.
Yeah, we have 13 people on the call and a bunch of people
Great.
who requested the video.
The recording.
Yeah, the recording. So what
Well,
questions?
one thing
Yeah.
if we have questions, that's great. I can talk about Elizabeth had a question. You could be so used to feeling bad after eating the chips. It's not really a question, it's a comment. Or whatever, that you say, whatever, just one more time, that bad feeling. I love this. This is so true. And this is why it's so important to get in that cycle of feeling bad. Because what are you going to do? If you feel bad and you feel like a failure, then you stop trying. And if it's just a mistake, you can move on from that. But if you beat yourself up, it's really hard to stay on track. And with this program, I show you how you can get right back on track after eating a mistake. And listen, one eating mistake, probably not going to have a huge impact on your goals. But if you say, screw it, whatever, then you can really get yourself into trouble.
It's interesting because Shankinta mentioned anxiety,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people struggle with anxiety, especially around food.
Yes.
And, so does this help with anxiety, your program, or is that something you work on separately?
That's such a great, yes. It's such a great question. And it really, really does take the anxiety out of food and eating.
Okay.
I can imagine that you start to get stressed out, like the birthday party example. I can imagine you start to get stressed out, even before you're there, because there's going to be all kinds of food there. I mean, one thing I recommend is we plan ahead, and I do this exercise with my clients. If they have a party coming up, how can we plan ahead? One thing I suggest is, how are you going to fill your plate and fill it once? And that's kind of the rule of thumb. And that just, it's like, okay, I can do this. I can handle this. There is a lot of anxiety. Let me just say something else about the other side of anxiety, is that people who have anxiety, who try to use food to soothe it, I just want to put it out there, has that ever really worked? No, because what happens is you may feel soothed while you're eating the food that takes 2 minutes, 5 minutes to eat it.
Yeah.
Right? But afterwards, your anxiety goes up. And now you have more anxiety because you have another problem. You ate too much. So it removes the anxiety in that way too.
Yeah, I remember hearing a podcast about a mayor who really dreaded going to these town hall meetings and meeting with constituents, because he knew that somebody would bake a pie for him.
Exactly,
so he basically just said, I want everybody to know I'm on a diet, and please don't make pies for me, because unfortunately I'm going to have to refuse them. And that worked for him. He just told everybody ahead
Yes.
of time, and he planned. He said, I'm not going
Yes.
to do this. So
This is so great because really people, so this is another thing we deal with in the program is people who make things for you, and somebody made a peach pie, and let me tell you, peach pie,
right.
oh my God, my favorite.
You would think it
So
would be
yeah, and
healthy,
it's
right? It's peaches, it's fruit.
well,
That's
you know
my
what? If you
thinking.
love peach pie, if you love peach pie, who was it? Elizabeth or no, or somebody, or Jerry said something about peach pie. Jerry, if
Yeah.
you love peach pie, we're going to get it into your diet in a healthy way.
Okay.
But this is really good. People actually don't want, when they do something nice for you like that, they don't want to hurt you or make you feel conflicted. They want to help you. And sometimes if you just can reach out and say, hey, thank you so much for doing this. But I'm trying to eat more healthy now. And I so appreciate it, but I can't eat it.
Yeah.
So, and people are usually like, oh my God, I want to help you. Not
Right.
always. We deal with that too in Mind Over Food, but yes. So,
Yeah.
um,
Question.
so it says something here about Shaniqua said that she doesn't have anxiety, but she doesn't apply any useful techniques. And I hope, Shaniqua, you've heard a couple of useful techniques. Obviously, if you're in a workshop of mine, we go into a lot more detail. But what I would say is, what is it that you're looking for in this situation? Like, what could you say to yourself in this situation of feeling hungry? And one thing is, you could say, as you're in the car, I'm going to feel bad after eating these bag of chips, so I'm not even going to stop at the convenience store, and I can wait till I get home until I have my healthy food. Or you can go into the grocery store and say, you know what, I'm going to have some fruit and some nuts, and then just a little bit to get me through, and then when I get home, I'll make my healthy meal. I think we had a question on the Q&A.
Yeah, Shankuta asked, you said there are no taboo foods, but I found that
Yes.
certain food sweets have an addictive quality to them.
Oh,
I just
really
can't
good
stop
question.
eating them. How does one overcome this with the mind when the goal that is sought is that dopamine release from eating the food? It's become a necessity in my life at this point, and I struggle with this on a daily basis.
So let me say one thing about that. It's a great question. Thank you for bringing that up. And I have a little bit of a twist on that too. So the first thing I want to say is that if you really feel so, the jury's still out about whether food is addictive or not, but we sort of know that there's sort of an addictive system that's going on here, and it does trigger that pleasure center in our brain. So we have to take that really seriously. And if you really struggle with sweets, and you need to avoid sweets, this program can help you reach that goal. If that's your goal, then we will work within that. There's a lot of research also on the other side that says that if you deprive yourself of your favorite foods, then that leads to failure because you feel this sense of deprivation. And here's an example from one of my clients that was really great, because she had this thing with cookies. And she also had these office parties, not parties, but like meetings, and they'd bring this whole spread of food and these big, like these giant chocolate chip cookies that she really felt like she was addicted to. And what I told her was, why don't you put them on your plan for tomorrow? Take a cookie and say, I can have a cookie, but it's not on my plan today. So I'm going to put it on my plan tomorrow. And what she found was that it wasn't the cookie that was the problem, but it was the fact that everybody was eating the cookies. It was the whole situation.
Yeah.
And when it came time to eat the cookie the next day, it really wasn't that interesting to her. So that's one example how if you plan for it in advance, and get it out of the situation where you're planning in a place where the food isn't right in front of you, it can really help you make that healthy choice. So, but I want to reiterate again, people do claim to have addictions to food, and these cognitive behavioral techniques are the same. They're used for addiction counseling, they're used for depression, they're used for anxiety, and they really work no matter what your goals are. I think we had another question. Yeah, Shanquita said again that she doesn't do good with deprivation. So exactly, that's exactly it. Now that I've talked a little bit about this, can you start to think of some of your sabotaging thoughts? Do you want to share some of your sabotaging thoughts? And I can maybe help you come up with some responses. And that way you can go home from this meeting and get started right away. And I can also talk a little bit more about mindful eating. The reason that I bring that up is because when I introduce this topic in my workshops and people go home and try the mindful eating, I think it's the biggest aha moment for my clients. They go home and they are so shocked about what a different experience eating is if they just eat it in a more mindful way. So can you guys think of some of your sabotaging thoughts? What about you, Wayne? What are some of your sabotaging thoughts?
Well, I think I'm about to have a birthday tomorrow. My daughter made this great chocolate cake.
You mean your birthday is tomorrow?
Yeah. So.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. So I was trying to think of ways to get the whole cake out of the house, so I don't, because I have no willpower whatsoever. So I was thinking about,
question.
Yeah, and she's actually she has to work tomorrow, so she won't be. She's in from out of town. So I was thinking I would just give her half of the cake to take back with her tonight.
Okay.
So I don't have like the whole cake sitting in the freezer, because I know that I just can't say to myself, don't eat it.
And anyone else have this experience before? Huh? Anyone? Well, first of all, you're in the right place. So there's your so we can take these behavioral steps, right? So send half the cake home with her, and you don't want to offend her by not eating the cake, right?
Obviously.
So I would say, since you can plan for tomorrow, how much of the cake is acceptable for you to eat and still stay healthy? And then after that, you have to get rid of it. And I know this is going to be shocking for some people, but I do recommend that you throw food away. And some people have a hard time with that, but you can waste it on your body or you can waste it in the trash. Either way, it's still wasted.
I would rather give it away.
Okay, you can do that.
I had my wife take it to work.
Perfect.
Right?
Problem solved.
I can't.
Do you feel better now?
I cannot throw food away.
Okay.
So
we would have a talk about that.
Yeah.
Shaniqua has this I deserve it thing too that I was talking about before. She tells herself she deserves it. Shaniqua. No, I'm sorry, that's not Shanquinta. I'm so sorry that I mispronounced your name. Shanquinta, what else do you deserve in your life? Tell me that. Do you deserve a temporary 2-minute piece of whatever or a bag of chips, or do you deserve to be healthy? Or I don't know what your particular issues are and what brought you here, but what else do you deserve? And let's get that into your working memory. I deserve to be healthy. I deserve to have more energy. I deserve to be light on my feet. I deserve not to have a medical condition. You really deserve that more than that piece of cake, and I can help you get there.
That's a great suggestion. I also feel like what works for me.
She said, yeah.
Yeah, what works for me is a small piece rather than a larger piece, because I got the cake, right?
That's great.
I don't feel like I'm like bloated or full or just a pig.
Right. So we don't remember what the consequences are, right?
Right.
We don't remember. And this is the first thing we do is help you get to a point where when you're staring down at that food, you remember why you're doing it, right?
Good.
And I
Yeah.
love here this comment about she's looking for recuperation, energy, happiness, and emotional relief, right? Let's focus on that. Let's not focus on you should eat that, you shouldn't eat that. The only caveat I want to say is that if your doctor or nutritionist tells you not to eat something or tells you to eat something, you must follow that advice. I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
But let's focus on what you really want long term and get you there. Yes, I don't even care about consequences, she says. She blocks that out. Well, we're not going to let that happen anymore. No more blocking it out.
Yeah,
No
I
more
think
blocking it
planning
out.
ahead, at least for me, really does
Yeah.
make a difference. And, thinking about these things ahead of time, because I think we fall into patterns, obviously, right?
Yes.
We just like,
Well, we have a thinking pattern. It's a thinking pattern.
right, exactly. And we got to be more mindful, as you say.
Yes. Well, absolutely, absolutely. And it's really is, even if you tried diets that have worked for a little while, if you don't change your mindset, you just can't get there. Everyone who's been successful on a certain diet, the paleo or the Atkins, there's every diet has success stories, but the people who were successful changed their mindset. It wasn't that they just ate that food and it was magic. They had to change their mindset, and that's what I help you do. The other thing I want to put out there is, because you mentioned planning, is that a lot of people have a reaction to planning where it seems like a lot of work, and I wanted to put it out there that if people had a reaction about planning, which I did when I started to do this program.
Yeah.
I had a reaction to planning, and it really is such a gift.
That's true.
See, now you have a plan, Wayne. You have a plan
I have a
for
plan. This
tomorrow.
is great.
Do you
This is
feel better?
great. I feel great. Yeah. I mean,
Good,
I
good,
don't
good,
have
good,
to
good.
worry about it as much. All right. Well, you folks
Okay.
know how to, you want to put up your slide again, Andy, that, well,
Yes.
anybody that wants to get in touch with Andy, again, you can call her, you can text her. She's going to just throw up the slide in case you want to take down the
Sorry.
phone
I don't know
number,
how
the
it got here.
website. The website is mindoverfood.com. We will be sending out her contact information with the recording, so you will get that very soon, but here's her contact information. And so
I
thank you
really
all.
can't iterate enough. Please contact me. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, so thank you all for attending.
Thank you so much. This has been so exciting. Thank you for joining me.